Jobs in production in Medieval Dynasty can be very confusing to begin with. I was very confused when I started, but I've been playing for a long time, so I've gotcha. This video covers all jobs that any villager can do, except if they're working in the fields. If they are farmers, things work a bit differently, and I'll do a video on that in the future. Once you've taken care of the basics, like a place for a villager to live and work, here's what you need to know. If we look at the menu for management, you're going to have a list of villagers. I have a lot of villagers right now, and all of their moods are going down, and they're hanging around despondent in the tavern because I took away all their jobs so I could show you how jobs work. The first thing you want to do is go to one of the jobs, and you'll see that there are empty slots for workers, and it shows you tools above that and apprentices below. Apprentices we're going to ignore. It takes a long time to get to apprentices, so we'll leave that for now. You want to look at the tools and make sure that they have tools. It shows you the complete durability of all of the tools that they have access to, which means in the resource storage or in the box in their workplace. And then you can add a worker by selecting one of the empty slots. You can also do this the other way around by going to a person and going to the empty slot for their workplace and then selecting the workplace itself. For this, we'll do it from the workplace direction, but it's good to know you can do both. You want a worker who has a high level in the job that you're putting them in, and it shows you, in this case, extraction. The columns are from left to right: extraction, hunting, farming, diplomacy, survival, and production. And this is a woodshed, so it's extraction. So let's find somebody who is great at extraction. Emarika has a 10 in extraction, so we can put her in there. And it's a woodshed level 2, which will accept 2 workers, so we could put another one in there. And the thing I forget all the time, but you have to do, is to go one tab over and hit Edit Assignments, and then you need to tell them what it is you want them to do. In this case, we're going to say make logs and make planks. You close that, and then you have this. And they are still not working because you have to take the intensity up above 0. So if we select that and put this up, let's say we'll put it up 75, and we'll put this up 25. It's generally good if you get the total work intensity up to 100%, because that means they're doing as much as possible, you're getting as much as possible out of it, and they are leveling also as fast as possible. You can go one more tab over, and once you've set the assignments, you will see what they are producing. The production is the total that they're making of something. So in this case, they're making 175 logs and 72 planks. But if you go all the way over to the right, the total per day is actually less for logs because they're making planks out of the logs that they create. So they're creating 175, but they're using some to make planks, which gets you a total logs per day of 139. And then if you go to their workplace, you will see them doing their work. Well, actually, you won't see them immediately. You have to wait for them to arrive. They have to actually walk over. For everybody except people working in the fields, this doesn't matter. Distance is irrelevant. While they're walking, they are magically in the background actually working. So this lady is already producing logs, even though we can't see her producing logs. She goes to the box, she changes her clothes, and then she will start working. At the end of the day, they will change back into their normal clothes and walk off. They will leave work and go and do their evening activities, which are not working. So if you see them at certain times of day not working, that's why. Whatever your workers produce will end up in the resource storage. So if we open this, we have those people producing logs and planks. Planks turn up here and logs turn up here. Likewise, whatever they need to do their job, in this case axes, you want to put those in the resource storage and they will automatically take them out when they need them. The same thing goes for your food storage. Anything that is being produced that is edible will land in here. So that would be from the kitchen or from people who are maintaining animals that produce edible things like honeycomb or milk. It all lands in the food storage. Likewise, your kitchen needs to have its ingredients in the food storage or in the kitchen box so that they can access them. As your workers work, they will level up. So if we look at Vilaslava, she has a 10 in extraction. So she's reached the maximum. It goes from level 1 to 10, but she's still leveling in farming and she's about halfway through level 6. As they do jobs, they will level up. As they do jobs in particular buildings with other people, so here we can see that Emerika and Vilaslava are in the Woodshed 2 together. This is a good idea. As soon as you have buildings that are large enough to take multiple people, you should put them in buildings together because they level off of each other. They level up essentially quicker. The higher level they are, the more they produce. So for example, we can see that Emerika and Vilaslava are producing 179 logs and 37 planks per day. But if we go back and remove both of them and put people with a lower extraction skill in, say Bogna, and somebody who has a 1 in extraction, Radagost, and then we look at production, we'll see they're only producing with the same percentages of intensity, they're only producing 17 logs and 3.5 planks. So level makes a really big difference. A good thing to know, the animations that they are doing in their building do not make any difference at all. She was just working at the table and he's working on the anvil, and they should be making bars which are done at the forge. She's gone to the forge now, but those animations are not related to the jobs you give them. They are doing their jobs no matter what it looks like they're doing. By the way, if you ever see any of your workers standing around sweeping or just doing nothing, it does not mean that they are lazy. It means you haven't told them what to do yet. Job skill also affects productivity and mood. Suliwuj has a 10 in an extraction, and he's a miner, and mining uses extraction. So he is as productive in that job as he could possibly be, and a lot more productive than someone who has a level 1 extraction. A villager's mood also makes a big difference to how they work. For every 5% of mood they have above 0, they get a 2% productivity bonus. So at 100%, they are 20% more efficient and productive. The skill a villager has in a job also affects their mood. For every point of skill they have in the job they're doing, and you can see that by the green, they are going to be 2% happier. Villagers do not lose happiness by having a lower level skill in the job they're doing. They gain happiness by having a higher level. They are also totally fine not doing a job. It's just they get a mood bonus from doing a job that they have a high skill in. Another thing that's good to know, no matter what it looks like your villagers are doing when they're working, they do not affect the world you can see. So this guy will chop this tree all day long, but he'll never chop it down. After you set up a bunch of basic jobs, it's good to know how to set up production chains. So with a production chain, I always like to start with the end product. What is the thing you want to make, and what do you need for it? So if we say we want to set up bronze knives, we can look at the anvil in the smithy and see that bronze knives require 1 stick and 1 bronze bar for each bronze knife. Sticks come from the woodshed. Bronze bars come from the smithy. 1 bronze bar requires 1 copper bar and 1 tin bar, which also come from the smithy. And copper bars and tin bars require copper ore and tin ore, which comes from the mine. So let's have a look. If we start with our end product, we can add an assignment to the smithy to make bronze knives. And we see down the bottom we have to have hammers for the blacksmith to work. We have to have 1 stick per knife and 1 bronze bar per knife. So let's set the intensity for bronze knives. Let's just set it to 1. And we know we need bronze bars. We know that bronze bars require copper bars and tin bars. So let's add those two. And we want to start with 1 bronze bar a day. And that means we need 1 tin bar a day and 1 copper bar a day, or as close as we can get to it. So we're now creating 1 bronze knife from 1 bronze bar and 1 copper bar and 1 tin bar. We still need sticks for the knives. So let's go to the woodshed and add sticks. Sticks are really easy. So we're easily going to get more than 1 a day. We can set this to whatever we like. We could also then put in logs and other things, but let's keep it clean for the moment. So we've got our sticks covered. Now let's go to the mine. And we know we need copper ore and tin ore. And we need 1 of each a day, just to start with. So we've now got a complete chain going to the smithy, and at the end of the chain is 1 bronze knife. So we can increase these, but it requires a fair bit of juggling. So if we say we want 2 bronze knives a day, let's see if we can do it. I've got level 3 workers in all of these jobs. So there's a 2, we need 2 bronze bars. We're not quite going to be able to manage it, to be honest, with level 3 workers, because we can't increase the copper bars and tin bars. And this is the limitation of early workers. Early workers do not produce that much. So in this particular case, we would just keep it at 1 bronze knife a day. And this will be completely self-sustaining and will never run out of materials. As your workers level, you can increase all of the quantities in your production chain so that you can be creating a lot more in the same amount of time. Let's look at troubleshooting a little bit. You'll often get these icons in the top left. In this case, it's a little anvil and a hammer, which means there are no tools or resources for someone to do their job, and there's a 3 under it. The 3 may be confusing to start with, but if we open management and we look at the buildings, we can see that extraction has 2 and production, the kitchen, has 1. So if we go to the woodshed where the red icons are, we see there is no tool and no resources. The reason there are 2 in this case is it's 2 different assignments. One of them, we can see down the bottom, needs an axe, and the other one needs logs. So if we go to the kitchen, it says no resources, and we can see down the bottom that the recipe we're trying to make, pottage, it needs meat, which is not present. And if we look at the woodshed, we see them standing around because they're unable to cut logs and firewood. And if we look at our kitchen, we see that they are standing around because they're unable to cook. These problems are easily solved by, first of all, going into the food storage and dropping some meat in there, and by going into the resource storage and dropping some axes in there and some logs. And we'll see that our cooks are going back to work, as are our lumberjacks. Right at the beginning of the game, my suggestion would be put down a woodshed, of course, a woodshed number 1. In fact, I always start with 2 of these myself, because these will be gathering resources for you that you are going to need throughout the entire game, and you can save yourself a lot of time by having someone else gathering them for you. So I'd recommend 2 woodsheds, 1 hunting lodge, because the hunting lodge can gather leather for you right at the beginning, and then under production, a level 1 workshop. These are all unlocked pretty early in the game, and let's build them quickly. So if you've got these 3 buildings working at the beginning of the game, and you've got your people assigned to them, and you've got them gathering things, you can come into the workshop and you can make torches. Torches sell for, at the bottom the price says 33. What that actually means is 16.5 each, but you can automate the production of these and you can have your people producing them in the background, and every now and then you just go collect them and sell them in town for a bit of money. It can be a nice way to make money easily and quickly at the beginning of the game. Also, your woodsheds, put them on gathering logs, which will help you a lot in your building. And your hunting lodge, because you need leather for the torches, can be gathering leather for you. I hope this has been useful. I hope you've learned something, and I hope it helps you get started with your Medieval Dynasty. As an appendix to this video, if you're interested, I'm going to go through all of the different workplaces and what tools they need and what resources they produce. I hope you're enjoying your Medieval Dynasty. The extraction buildings. The excavation shed requires pickaxes for most things and shovels for clay, and will produce copper ore, stone, clay, limestone, and straw. The herbalist's hut gathers many different things based on different seasons. So, for example, berries only in summer. Lots of other things at lots of different times, and these are all ingredients for making things in the herbalist's hut, like potions. And you can go through the 4 tabs here to see what it's doing in different seasons. The mine requires pickaxes and can produce stone, salt, copper ore, tin ore, and iron ore. The well produces buckets or water skins filled with water. It doesn't require tools, but you have to have empty buckets and or empty water skins in your resource storage for this to work. The woodshed requires axes and can produce logs, sticks, firewood, planks, and spruce bark. The hunting category has the fishing hut, which can catch fish, obviously, roach, perch, pike, and they produce different amounts of meat. Salted meat comes with the fishing hut level 2. Once you've turned fish into fish meat, you can dry it and create dried fish meat. And then these are 3 different ones. So roach produces 1 meat, perch produces 4 meat, and pike produces 7 meat. The hunting lodge requires knives and produces meat. In the level 2 hunting lodge, it produces salted meat and otherwise dried meat, leather, fur, and feathers. Farming, we're going to skip the farm shed because that's where you put people who are working in the fields. The barn requires no tools, and the assignments are many varied different things. People can make animal feed, they can create seed and grain out of what you've harvested, they can grind flour, make daub for insulation, make fertilizer out of manure or rot, and that's it. The windmill, which is a very late game building, will create flour out of either wheat grain, oat grain, or rye grain, and requires no tools. The animal husbandry buildings all require no tools. The apiary will create honeycomb. The cowshed creates milk. What it does require is buckets of milk being in the resource storage. The donkey shelter creates nothing. The fold creates buckets of milk from goats and wool from sheep. It's important to be clear about that though. Even though in real life sheep give milk, they don't in this game. The hen house and the goose house, which are basically the same, create eggs and feathers, just that the eggs you get more in a hen house and feathers you get more in a goose house. The pigsty, which is probably the first animal building I would ever build, creates manure. Manure becomes fertilizer, which is very important for farming. The stable, like the donkey shelter, does not create anything. It's just a house for horses. The production buildings, the kitchen, creates lots and lots of things. There are many, many different recipes. I won't try and list them all here. It doesn't require any tools, but it does require ingredients. 2 good recipes to start with are pottage, which is cabbage, meat, and a wooden bowl. and gruel, which is only rye grain in a wooden bowl. The sewing hut will create linen thread, linen fabric, which requires linen thread, wool fabric, which requires wool thread, simple bags, which is just leather, or bags, which is leather and linen fabric, and many, many other things. This is where you create all of the different clothing options in the game, and it's a long list. Doesn't require any tools though. The smithy requires hammers for them to work, and you can create copper bars, tin bars, bronze bars, and iron bars, but also every kind of tool or weapon or armor in the entire game. Again, it's a long list. The tavern, which is a very late game building, requires no tools and creates a long list of juices, beers, and wines. Wines are created from the juice. Beers are created from grain and water and sometimes hops. The workshop is another one that has a very long list of things you can create with it. It's basically anything made of wood or clay or sticks. So good things, simple things to start with at the beginning that you will need are torches, buckets, perhaps medium wicker baskets, small wicker baskets, clay bowls, etc. Services are the market stalls, which sell things for you. And you can essentially pick something that you want it to sell, and then they will sell them and make you money without you doing anything, which is awesome. There's also the builder's shed, which requires hammers and will repair buildings for you. And storages are just storages, but you can see them in here, which is pretty good to know.